My name is Ryan Champeau, and I'll be your MC. And I'm also one of the members of the Waukesha Forum Planning Committee who is hosting this event tonight. I have had the privilege of serving for 21 years as principal of Waukesha North High School, in addition to being a parent of a Waukesha North grad and a longtime citizen of the school district. Tonight, we welcome 4 candidates who have agreed to participate. We had 5, but Bill Baumgart is having technical difficulties with his equipment, so perhaps he'll be able to join us while we're in session. In addition to Bill, we have Greg Deets, Sarah Harrison, Amanda Roddy, and Jaymz Touchstone. 3 candidates, Markel Moore, Mark Borowski, and Carrie Kozlowski, declined to participate in the forum this evening. Now for just a little bit of technical information that will make this visual presentation easier for you to navigate. If you want, you can make the slide presentation smaller, and by contrast, the candidate video larger. Simply drag the bar between the two to the left, as shown on this slide. Okay, now I think we are ready to begin. At this time, I want to welcome Alan Vorsick, Senior Fellow at Marquette University Law School and columnist for the Journal Sentinel. Before becoming Senior Fellow in Law and Public Policy at Marquette Law School in 2009, Alan spent 37 years at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel as a reporter, columnist, and editor. Alan has hosted debates and continues today to publish articles for the Journal Sentinel regarding, among other topics, education policy. We are very pleased that he agreed to be our moderator tonight. Alan, welcome. And it's your turn to come on.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm glad to be here. I believe strongly in candidate forums such as this, where every candidate at least has the chance to present their views on an equal basis, and voters who care to tune in can judge what they hear, and I hope go to the polls when the time comes. I should say a couple things. One is, I am not an expert on Waukesha education politics. In fact, that was I believe one of my qualifications for doing this, is that I'm coming to this with a pretty clean slate. I really don't know anybody involved in this personally. I keep up some with all this seen in the Milwaukee County area, including Waukesha. One of my main conditions for doing this was that every candidate would be invited to participate, and I'm sorry that more haven't, but I'm glad for those who are. Another condition was that the questions I will be asking were written by me and with no input from anybody else. They're not intended to be in any way partisan in themselves, except to bring up major issues that I believe many people in Waukesha, and for that matter, coast to coast, are concerned about when it comes to education these days. And that everybody who participates have equal time, equal chance to air their views. So we will begin with opening statements by the participants, 4, and I hope we'll get back to 5 here as we go. And then I will have 8 rounds of questions, and then at the end, the candidates will have a chance to give concluding statements. Bill Baumgart, are you? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're here. We will do the opening statements, which
Sure.
both the opening statements and the answers to all the questions. We're going to limit candidates to a rather tight schedule of 90 seconds each. And we will
Yes.
do the opening statements in alphabetical order of the candidates. We will do the closing statements in reverse alphabetical order of the candidates. And the questions themselves, we will go through different sequences of order. So everyone will speak first or last, as the case may be.
It's on, it's working. I don't know why. It's working.
I'm waiting to see if Bill Baumgart is with us. I think in that case, Mr. Baumgart, are you ready to give an opening statement?
Yes, I am. I am. Thank
Okay,
you.
90 seconds, please.
Yes, I apologize for all of the interruptions I caused. I just wanted to simply say it's great to be here. It's been a number of years since we've had a primary election or we've had a forum of any kind. I remember those years, but this is in my mind, this is a good thing. We're getting to see some other people that are interested in the school board. What's it about and how can we provide something to it? I think it should be of interest to the new members as well, from, you know, maybe picking something up from those of us that have been around a while. This is an opportunity for us to share. I'm sorry that everybody didn't participate in it. I think it's important that we do this and share some of the ideas and stuff and concerns. And I guess that would be the conclusion of my opening statement, and looking forward to what we hear from each other as we go through the day or the afternoon. Thank you.
Greg Deets.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in or watching this at a later time at your convenience. I first of all want to thank the Waukesha School Board Candidate Forum Planning Committee for all their behind the scenes work in coordinating this important event tonight, and also to Alan for being our moderator. It's a lot of work that took place by a lot of individuals, and it's very much appreciated. And it's a great opportunity for the residents of Waukesha to get to know us a little bit better as candidates, as well as our viewpoints and positions on several topics. I've lived in Waukesha for 32 years. My career and background is in education. 5 years as an elementary teacher, 12 years as a special education teacher, and 21 years as an elementary principal in the school district of Waukesha. I've been on the school board for 6 years, looking forward to a re-election campaign and hopefully being re-elected. And I'm currently working at Lutheran Social Services out of West Allis, where I work with individuals with disabilities and senior citizens to help provide them with resources and plans so that they can stay in their homes instead of having to go to nursing homes or institutions. I also want to thank the other candidates that were able to join us tonight. So it'd not be as exciting and as complete without all of you that came forward. And like I said, I think it's a great opportunity for our community and our residents. And I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening to what we have to say tonight. Thank you very much.
Sarah Harrison.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Harrison, and I am running for a seat on the Waukesha School Board. I would like to start out by thanking our incumbents for their service to date and for having education as their first priority. I very much appreciate all the hard work that goes into that. I'm a mom of 2 Waukesha students. I have a senior at North, Lucas, and a freshman at South, Chuck. And through the years, my kids have also been in Hillcrest and in Horning. So we've been through a couple of different buildings as a personal experience as a family. I'm running as a fiscally responsible, transparent representative on the board who will stand up for the rights of the citizens in the community to have visibility and to have a voice. And I will also always make merit-based decisions. So I promise that this is never going to be anything that's based on any other factors other than the impact on students, impact on the workplace for teachers, and the financial viability of options that are available. While I haven't served on a school board in the past, I have been in many volunteer organizations all the way up through the board level, and I've had lots and lots of years of experience in the business world managing multi-million-dollar projects. So I definitely know my way around an Excel spreadsheet, and I look forward to serving you on the school board. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, good evening. My name is Amanda Medina Roddy, and I would like to just start off by thanking the committee and those who took the time to put this together. I appreciate the invitation. Just a quick snapshot about myself. I am not a native to Wisconsin. I come to you by way of Cherry Point, North Carolina, and but I've made Wisconsin my home for the last 20 plus years. I am a wife and mother of 3 students in our district. My children are at Summit View and Butler Middle School. I am a incumbent to the Waukesha School Board. I've been on for 2 terms now, and it has been it's been a joy for the most part, I guess I'd say. A little bit about me as a community member. I have the extreme privilege of being part of many different organizations. I serve as a board of directors for the Women's Center. I am a member of the Waukesha Noon Rotary. I've been appointed to the State Women's Council. I've been appointed to the Committee of School District and School Finance Information Transparency. I am a volunteer for Blessings in a Backpack, and I'm also a volunteer for the Waukesha Food Pantry. All of those things help keep me in touch with our community and our students in our district. And tonight it's my goal to just give you clear and concise responses, just to give you a little bit more of an insight to who I am and who I would like to be as your school board member.
Jaymz Touchstone.
Hi, hey, thanks for inviting me to be here. I look forward to the discussion of ideas. So I come from the understanding and background that you can vehemently disagree with someone and still deeply love them. My wife and I, we disagree over many things. For example, getting a new St. Bernard puppy. Yet at the end of the day and many, many discussions, I love her deeply. I believe the same principles can translate here into this forum. We can gather together to discuss ideas, even if we have sharp disagreements. We can still treat everyone with dignity and respect and go out for coffee and talk about puppies at the end of the day. So as iron sharpens iron, we can agree that only through discussion of ideas can we find the best path forward. In America, issues surrounding education are big topics of discussion, both in the news media and among the general public. The current educational system is beset by a wide range of challenges, from cuts in government funding to changes in disciplinary policies, and much, much more. Everyone at this forum agrees that providing high quality education for our children is a worthy idea. However, there are many diverse viewpoints about how that should be accomplished, and that leads to highly charged debates with passionate advocates on both sides. We all know right now that nobody's listening to politicians and with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. It's leaders who start with why that have the ability to inspire people around them and find solutions. So I'm starting with the question of why. Why are 60% of Waukesha School District students below proficient in reading and math?
Which leads us into the first question that I have. The Waukesha School District was rated by the State Department of Public Instruction in the recent report cards as exceeding expectations. However, the percentages of students at different levels of proficiency in reading and math has declined in recent years. What does the district need to do to improve the performance of students on state tests and in other measures of school success, including graduation? We're going to begin with Greg Deets. You're muted.
The things we need to look at as far as achievement within our district include several things. First of all, we do have several students that have been very successful and continue to be successful. And that's something to be proud of, because I know that there's been a lot of hard work put into maintaining and getting to that level of achievement. We also have various groups of students that struggle more than others, and we need to provide remediation to help those deficits as soon as possible with research-based programs that are implemented with fidelity, which means implemented how they're supposed to. We need to address the shortfalls that students experience in the areas of social emotional learning. Some kids come to our district with some emotional things that are they carry with them throughout the day, and we need to provide that support through counselors and other remediation for them. We also need to provide good nutrition to our kids. We need to ensure attendance, and we talk about achievement so much, but one of the things that I would like to really work on in the upcoming years, especially starting as soon as possible, to work on student engagement. Because if we don't have students in attendance and student engagement, we're never going to get success in the classroom. And we need those things. And we also need a strong relationship with the teacher that needs to be developed. That's one of the #1 predictors for student learning. So we do have some gaps, especially with our Black and Hispanic students. We do have a person that we've hired to oversee and direct some of that work. And we just need to continue to move forward and base our decisions on data and continue to look for other ways to remediate those that need it, as well as to assist those that are excelling in doing so as well.
We'll turn to Jaymz Touchstone next.
So what does the district need to do to increase the performance of students? Well, one of the main things that we need to do is provide educational freedom to the stakeholders of the people that the board are responsible for. In any corporation or business, if 60% of the product is failing, if they've delivered 60% of your meals wrong, or Amazon delivered 60% of your packages wrong, you'd go to the stakeholders. The stakeholders in this case are the parents, and the parents are the people that need to help with changing the performance. So one of the best ways to do that is with school choice. It's a fundamental belief that parents should have a wide range of options or educational options to choose from, be it traditional public schools, public charter schools, private schools, or virtual learning. Private school choice through scholarship tax or tax credit programs or vouchers, educational savings accounts, and individual tuition tax credit. These all give students the opportunities, including students from low-income families or students with special needs, to receive the tuition to attend a private school, or to have the parents meet their opportunity and they can change and meet their needs immediately. We don't have time for the students that are in the process to have an 8-year turnaround points to review data. We need to make an immediate change and give parents, in this case, the stakeholders, the ability to take control of their children's education immediately and make sure that they're receiving it.
Let's turn to Bill Baumgart on improving academic success.
Okay, thank you. We're getting off into interesting some positions already. We have to recognize that the school district of Waukesha is a public education system, and that's the one we're responsible for. Yes, we have a huge amount of diversity in this district, and that's part of the issues we have to deal with. I know, and we have schools that are performing very well, and we have schools that are struggling. It will be our responsibility to work with those schools, particularly those that are struggling a bit. And some of the things we've already done there, and we will be continuing to do, would be in the areas of the student to teacher to student ratio. we have, for instance, I don't know if I should publish the names. I will not. There's 2 schools right now that we are talking about that need these kind of helps, and we're going to be moving them, combining them, where we think we can get a little bit stronger opportunity from the teachers to deliver the right things to the right kids. That's part of the program we will be working on. I do recognize that we scored very well in the top 10 in the report cards. Of the top 10 of the 10 largest districts, we came in second place. And even in that situation, we were beat by Appleton, which has less diversity and less of these situations that we have to deal with. So we will be working on that. I would like to promote the fact, excuse me, I'd like to promote the fact that we have done well with this. Some of the side issues that have crept into the program have gotten in the way. We spend as much time doing open records reports and stuff like that as we need staff to be doing other things. And we have had teachers turned down by the animosity that exists in this community, so that we will be struggling with having enough teachers to even do the job that we're supposed to be doing. And that's another issue we have to deal with. And if I'm not mistaken, another name has come up in my thing, so I probably will be done at this point.
And the name is Sarah Harrison.
Hi there, thank you. So we did indeed come in number 2 out of the top 10 largest schools in the state of Wisconsin, which is so fantastic. I am really glad to see that at a macro level, our district is seeing great success. What we're not seeing is success as widely across the district, varying by building and also varying by socioeconomic class, varying by race. And we have to provide equitable resources to all students, regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, zip code, any of those factors that do have a very large impact on how our students live their day-to-day life. One of the best ways that we can address those needs that our children bring with them to school is by providing our at-risk kids with more one-on-one time with educators. We can set clear benchmarks for these students and set goals together and measure the success rate as we get toward those key milestones. And also training students in some of the learning techniques that will help them not only through school, but also through their lifetime. So techniques such as note-taking, self-assessment, self-awareness within the classroom situation as well as within social situations. These are all things that every student will be able to build on for the rest of their life. That's where I see our opportunity. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, thank you. Great response, Sarah. Yes, I agree. Our children have succeeded with the tests from this past year. To increase our proficiency, we need to increase the student engagement, like others have said. How do we engage them more? We get to know them more as a person as a whole. We stick to the plans that we have, our administrators have set for us. We have measurable learning outcomes. We have formative assessments. And most importantly, we have consistent feedback, not only between the students and the teachers, but including their parents, and making that all of a team effort. These standardized tests, yes, they give us an idea, it gives us a snapshot of where they're at. But what they also do is they compartmentalize what success is. And those test scores are a starting point for where we're at. And it tells us where we need to be going with the success of our students.
Thank you. Let me remind the candidates and encourage them that if we can stick to the 90-second limit on answers, we'll get through more material overall here. So my next question, how would you describe the school district's financial situation? Does it need more money? Does it have enough money? Does it have more money than it needs? We'll begin this time with Bill Baumgart.
Thank you. The timing on this is very interesting because we have been meeting regularly once or twice a month with exactly that problem. we've done well up to this point, stretching here and there where we can. But as we forecast the next year and certainly the year after that, we're beginning to see a real need for cutting back. And that is going to fall into such situations as combining schools in one case. We will be stuck with that. We are going to have a tough year in maintaining the wonderful teaching staff we have. Will we have to cut back on that? Hopefully not, but that's one of the things that could be facing us. Will we have the money for the increased CPI that's coming over, that's predicted for us over across the state, probably across the country? Rates are going to be going up as prices are going up. So we have issues to deal with. We do not have too much money. So far, we've had enough money. The other thing I'd like to mention in there, and some people are going to wonder about this, but we have money coming, which is called the ESSER funds. That money is more like one-time money. We can't use it ever over and over again. It's going to be there, but we will have to be careful in how we're using it, and we're meeting about that regularly also. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably about the end of my thing because I see Sarah's name popped up.
Sarah Harrison.
Hi, thank you. Definitely agree with Bill that we do not have too much money, and that so far we've had enough money, which is great, and we're going to in the future see the need for more money. When it comes to what we need to do with that money, I think there are some creative solutions that have been great that we've looked at in the past, such as certain sponsorships of sporting areas, that kind of thing, where companies can make a donation and they can have their name, and that can help the school financially, and it helps the company to also show their support of the school. So there are some creative ways to deal with things. I would like to think that we will also look at the concern over the elementary schools that are being discussed for potential closure, and make sure that, yes, we need to make a financial change, but let's make sure that we're doing it in a way that is most beneficial to the community members. It might not be the best to push two schools together. Maybe we need to look at redistricting and moving some of the children out to a variety of different schools rather than pushing these two schools together. My other concern, while we do have to address the financial need, is that those two schools have very high levels of at-risk students, and putting all of those at-risk students together is going to be a real challenge within one building. So I would say that, yep, we got to address the financial issues, but we need to do it in a way that benefits our student community and our teacher community and our parent community. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, thank you. The district is currently at a deficit. So I'd say if you're at a deficit, then you do need more money. But as Bill said, we've been coming up with creative ways on how to address that need. With the team we've had, they've made it enough up to this point. We get creative with community partnerships. We have a great one with the Waukesha Education Foundation and different businesses in the community. I think as long as we stay transparent and let the community know how we are spending the monies that they have given us up to this point, it's okay to ask for a referendum when need be.
And Jaymz Touchstone.
Hello, yeah, money is definitely an important part of running a school district. However, money is not always the real issue. Funding has continued to come from the state legislature. It goes up every year, and I know that we are losing funding somewhat because we are losing enrollment. We have declining enrollment in our district. And one of the reasons I feel that we have declining enrollment within our district is that the product, i.e. the education of the students, isn't as high as what the stakeholders, the parents, want it to be. So therefore, the amount of money that we have is probably adequate for now and for the future. The better question is, there's two principles that you really can't do here. You can't run a district with one-time dollars like the dual lunch program came in from the federal lunch program. And the other question is the money that we have, we need to spend wisely. The current board members spent $110,000 on an equity advisor's salary. And so is that really the place that we need to spend that amount of money at? Wouldn't it be better helping some of those at-need students and those schools? Yes, we probably might need an equity advisor, but probably not at the cost of $110,000 a year. That's it. Thanks.
Greg Deets. Unmute yourself. Good.
Thank you. Actually, overall, compared to surrounding districts around us, we do have a strong fund balance of a little over $35 million in reserve in case we need that for emergency situations. We are getting limited revenue from the state, and based on projections, it doesn't seem like that's going to increase anytime soon to the level of us not having to cut, which this year we'd be looking at budget cuts of up to $4 million. In 2018, I was supportive of the $60 million referendum that we had in our district that passed with the support of 66% of our residents. And that was mainly to upgrade our middle schools and to improve safety, especially entrances at all of our schools. And with the financial responsibility that we've shown as a district, it looks like we're going to be able to pay that 10-year referendum off in 6 to 7 years, significantly saving the district a lot of money. We're also dealing this year with a consumer price index of 4.7%, which will be a challenge as we move forward with staffing salaries and costs of everything due to inflation as we move forward.
Let's turn to the next question. What would you as a school board member do to strengthen Waukesha's teacher workforce going forward? And we'll begin this time with Sarah Harrison.
All right, thank you. So throughout my career, I've had jobs that I absolutely loved, and I've had jobs where I had to drag myself out of bed in the morning. And it was largely not to do with what I was doing throughout my day. That had some impact, but it was more to do with the workplace culture, the people around me, and feeling appreciated and really feeling heard in my workplace. So one of the things that I would work to do as a board member is to build trusting and transparent relationships between the Board of Education and the staff. So we need to, of course, listen to the staff. They're the ones that are going to have the best ideas because they're out there on the front lines, seeing and hearing everything that's happening out there on a regular basis. I'm not going to agree with everyone all the time. And one of my little sayings that I like to say is, if two people always agree, one of them's probably lying. And I promise to be transparent about when there are things that myself and another person might not agree on. I'll be honest about that. My mom was a teacher, and she had so much joy from her students and from the experience of being in the educational system. Teachers are absolutely the backbone of our educational system, and they have an incredible impact on the learning environment for our students. It's so important for us to listen to and support our teachers and staff so that we can keep the best educators for our kids.
Greg Deets. Unmute yourself, please.
We need to do a lot in this area. I think the morale of our teacher workforce is probably the lowest that I've seen it in a long time, and I've been in this district for 32 years. I think staff haven't felt appreciated. They haven't felt valued. I don't think the relationship is there with administration and the trust that we actually need. The role of the teacher has been extremely stressful, especially over the last year due to the constant rotation of different learning models from virtual to hybrid to in-person, and some teachers have had to juggle all three. Currently, in the month of January, due to the fact that we have absolutely no mitigation for COVID in our schools after a 5-4 vote last May that got rid of all mitigation. So we have none mitigation. We have so many substitutes and teachers out sick that our sub-fill rate on a given day over the last month has been 60%. So if we have 10 teachers out, 6 substitutes are filling those 10 roles. So that's just adding more and more stress and not a very effective learning model for our students. So we need to, regroup, involve teachers more, show them some more appreciation. And we really need to work on teacher recruitment and retention. And some of the issues that have recently come up in the district over the areas of diversity and other issues is not helping that situation as we currently stand. Thank you.
Jaymz Touchstone.
Hello, yeah, in a study of the US education system, Gallup found that talented principals lead schools to higher achievement. That means improving leadership is a great way for a principal to help his or her school to excel. To do this, principals should build an effective and efficient management system so nothing falls through the cracks. And we need to hold everyone accountable for the achievement of the school. So we're answerable to the stakeholders, which are the parents. Treat teachers like professionals by involving them in the decision-making process, and build strong relationships with staff and teachers, administrators, and parents, making sure that everyone is on the same page and headed in the same direction. We need to reward excellence. Any school teacher, any educational assistant, special needs staff who directly elevates or supports the increase of student education would be rewarded. When my daughter was attending Whittier, I remember Principal Gannon, who was the principal at the time. She was amazing. We were in that school almost every day, interacting with the kids and the teachers and helping my daughter adjust to that school situation that was there. So again, what we need to do is reward excellence and engage teachers as the professionals that they are.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, thank you. So what would I do as a school board member to strengthen the teacher workforce going forward? I would be the example of respectful treatment to all of our staff members. It would build, I guess, or in this case, rebuild the trust between the teachers and administration. Would show an appreciation for their expertise, but also recognize that they're lifelong learners as well. So they're learning as they go with all the twists and turns that are thrown at us in this education world. We give them opportunities to grow as professionals. I think to raise morale of the teachers, we need to stop making them the rope in this tug of war between politics and policy.
And Bill Baumgart.
Okay, thank you. We've heard a number of things about this, and I agree with a lot of them. One of the things I think would help, and I do this a lot because I think it works, and I think Amanda does pretty much of it too, and other people maybe can't do as much because of jobs. That is, get in the schools, start talking to the teachers, start talking to the principals. You will learn, you as a board member will learn more by walking around and talking to people in those schools and giving them the appreciation that has just been mentioned by just about everybody. Get out there and do it. The last 2 years has been extremely difficult on teachers for more than one reason. One is we've lost people for the illness and subs that don't want to work anymore because of illness. That's one of the reasons. There's also an attitudinal problem in our community, which has forced teachers to say, do I really want to work in Waukesha anymore? That's a terrible thing to have going over your head. To have people that are working with our kids to be wondering if they want to work here in Waukesha, the place that more than 2-3 years ago was very, very popular. We got people coming in from other districts every year that wanted to work in Waukesha. And to see that go away is really painful. So to agree with what other people have said, appreciation, trust, relationships. We have an outstanding group of leadership with our principals, and we got to keep that as good as it is. And we'll be fine if we can get people to appreciate the teachers. And that will be my conclusion.
Next question. How would you rate the district's record in dealing with COVID-related issues, including virtual learning, keeping classrooms open, masking policies, messaging about vaccinations, the whole shebang? This time we're going to start with Sarah Harrison.
Thank you. I have been, oh, wait, it says Amanda Roddy.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, Amanda Roddy. That's what I'm supposed to start with. My fault.
Okay, all right.
I look at the wrong column here. Yeah, let's go with Amanda Roddy.
This is an interesting question.
I'd agree with that.
How would I rate dealing with COVID-related issues, including virtual learning? Keep it. Everybody stepped up where they had to, and everybody was put into a very difficult position nationwide. But Waukesha, our parents, our staff, our children, everybody just stepped up to whatever situation that they had to. Our administration was working round the clock, trying to come up with the best learning environments for our students. Unfortunately, that some thrive. Fortunately, some did thrive in the situation. Unfortunately, others didn't so much. But if I'm going to rate it, based off of the participation, what everybody had to do, I'd give us 100%. They stepped up and did what they did. As far as all of the policy and setting those things up, I think our board and our district did what the community asked them. Each board member represented the community the best that they saw.
Bill Baumgart.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a tough one to figure out. I don't know that I'd give them 100%, but I'd give us a pretty decent percent. The situation that happened in March of what year would that have been? A year and a half ago. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody really knew what we should do. There was a quick thing, what we were going to do. So we did start off with virtual. I'm not going to ever support the fact that virtual was a great way to teach kids. It wasn't. It isn't. But we got into it. And one of the reasons we were able to get into it immediately, as opposed to districts that waited a week or two of no training, we were able to because of our technology program that we had put into place and the eAchieve programs. We knew internally how to do virtual learning as good as it could be. And I'm not promoting it. Don't anybody misunderstand that. But who knew what in March of last year? Not much, or 2 years ago, excuse me. Now, mitigation, we struggled with that one, and I don't know if we ever were right or if there is a right. We were split on the masking policies. I guess the board has a right to split things. I didn't agree with it. 5 people did. So we did that. Luckily, we kept our kids reasonably healthy. Unfortunately, the loss of teachers and the loss of substitute teachers has hurt us. And one thing I wanted to mention, yes, we had some grade problems, but I want to point out one statistic. In the years 19 through 20 and 20 through 21, we had higher graduation rates than we did in the years before that. So we were able to graduate more kids by a little bit than we were used to. One success. Thank you.
Greg Deets.
When I think of COVID, I think of the scariest, most frightening thing that as an individual I've ever dealt with in my life. There was so much uncertainty. We had no vaccine, at least at the beginning. The possibility of death was out there looming. As board members, we were responsible for our students, our staff, our families, and our community. And when I don't know the answer to something, or when I'm not real versed in something, I look for information. My voting for mitigation and a hybrid model was based on medical experts, our lawyers telling us what to do, and also our insurance company. We have, COVID has been like a 9/11 experience times 100. And it's been extremely difficult on everyone in our community at all levels. In the United States, we've had 900,000 deaths. In Waukesha County, 912 deaths. If any one single person had the answer to the instructional model that worked best under COVID, that person would be world famous. That person doesn't exist. So for anyone to think that that perfect model is out there, it isn't. And I think we did a good job, the best we could, until last May, when we voted 5-4 to get rid of all mitigation. Getting rid of all mitigation during a world pandemic is just wrong, and has hurt us ever since. And it's something that I feel very strongly about. Thank you.
Now, Sarah Harrison. Apologize for
All right.
messing
okay.
up the order before.
Now I'm extra ready. No worries. So I will say, I really appreciate the school district of Waukesha being ahead of the curve in terms of virtual learning. The iPads were already in place. It was a relatively smooth transition. We had the technology. That was fantastic. However, you knew there was a however coming. As a community member who spoke at that meeting last May, I was absolutely not represented by that decision to remove masks a few weeks before the end of the school year, on the very day that my 14-year-old became eligible for their first shot of the vaccine. That was a slap in the face to anyone who was trying to have reasonable COVID mitigation within their family, and it forced a lot of people to make a decision between in-person and virtual learning. And as many of the speakers have already said, of course, in-person is better when you can do it. And we could have continued with those mitigations in place. My son witnessed people bullying other people who were wearing masks. He witnessed a student forcibly remove a mask from another student. These are all things that could have been avoided by making a proper policy decision to follow CDC recommendations and keep masking in place at least through the end of the school year, which was just around the corner. I strongly disagree with that masking decision that was made last May. Thank you.
Jaymz Touchstone.
Hello. Well, I can say as a parent of 6 children, I was definitely blindsided by the decision that the school board made, because approximately 2 weeks prior to that, we were promised that we were going to go back to school in person. And then all of a sudden we had to shift gears. If you're a parent of 6 children, can you imagine trying to get 6 children virtually set up in your house when you have children on musical instruments and choir and needing to participate in various classrooms where they have to talk. It was absolute chaos. So that being said, I will say that nobody knew what was going to happen. I just think that the planning on it could have been better. And I think that we could have came out of it sooner. One of the things that we have to do in American life is look at risk factors. The number one risk factor right now for elementary children and school age children is obesity, right? So more kids are struggling with obesity and having issues with obesity than they are with COVID. More children die in car wrecks going to and from school than die from COVID. So when we talk about risk, we need to look at the big picture of what is our risk tolerance and how does that compare to other things that we do in everyday life. I personally think that it should be up to the parents who are responsible for their own children. That's why I believe in educational freedom, to give parents the choice to send their kids to schools where maybe masks were optional or schools where they were demanded. We could have split it that way as well.
Good, thanks to all of you. What should you as a board member or a potential board member, and what should the school district as a whole be doing when it comes to students' social and emotional needs, mental health problems, or general engagement with school? This time we'll begin with Greg Deets.
Have several things in place already under the social, emotional, and learning area. We have a program called Second Step, which deals with those needs of our students in the areas of mental health. I'm happy to see that mental health in our community and in our country is being more well accepted as important as physical health. It's extremely vital for success to have in school. So we need to be cognizant of the mental health issues and problems that we're facing. We do have some schools that we provide outside resources for to actually receive therapy in the school setting. We need to address students' needs in behavioral plans and make sure that those are implemented well, and really look at the whole student and make sure that their needs are being met at every level. Obviously, we have counselors that are available. We've increased our number of social workers over the years at each of our buildings to assist as well in these areas. But we have work to do. And I think especially after the pandemic, mental health is even a higher priority. And we need to address that with some of the funds that we've received from the federal government, $2 million to address loss of learning, which could also include social emotional needs of students. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Thank you. So your question is, what should you as a board member and the school district as a whole be doing when it comes to the student social emotional needs, mental health problems, engagement? Mr. Deets already has shared what we are doing in our district with our second step programs, and just trying to reconnect with our students. As I said before, we've all just been through a massive shakeup to our world, and our students in the classrooms, the behavior, and remembering what's appropriate behavior and what's not, what they've seen, what they've witnessed that's happened over the last couple of years, within the last couple of weeks within our community in itself. And we need to continue to build those programs like Second Step, work with our community partners, as Greg said as well, bring on the mental health professionals that our district can use to help address these. The social emotional needs have everything to do with relationships, self-awareness, being able to share when they have these needs that they just don't know, like me right now, they don't know how to express themselves accurately. So we just need to continue to build on the programs and the partnerships that we currently have.
Jaymz Touchstone.
All right. Social emotional learning, or some people call it SEL, is a process of developing and using social and emotional skills. Sometimes it's called social emotional learning or social emotional literacy. People with strong social emotional skills are better equipped to manage daily challenges, build positive relationships, and make informed decisions. SEL helps students and adults thrive in school and life, and the skills can be taught and learned from preschool through adulthood. That's important because people are not born knowing how to manage emotions, solve problems, and get along with others. These kinds of skills have to be developed, and schools can help students learn them. It's also important to know that some students may need targeted support to fully benefit from SEL. However, this should not ever be taught at the expense of the core curriculum. The research is clear. Learning is irresistible and life-changing when it connects personal interest to meaningful relationships and real-world opportunities. That's all.
Bill Baumgart.
Thank you. This is another interesting one to look at from the standpoint where Waukesha sits. Waukesha School District is recognized across the state as having one of the strongest programs to deal with the mental health problems, the social emotional problems. We do extremely good work with that, and there's never enough, no matter how you cut it, because the problem keeps getting bigger and bigger. And as you've heard from Greg and Amanda, yes, we have a number of programs in place and they're working well and are going to get stronger. I'm particularly interested in the third part of this, general engagement with school, because that can be true for people that are perfectly capable of having strong engagement, strong school programs, and people that just don't care. And that's an area in here that I think we're going to have to give more attention to get that engagement up. And of course, that kind of thing requires parental help with it too, as well as do the others. It's just not left to themselves. So I think we need to continue the strength we have through our student services programs, working all the way through the types of people that we have to work with, and that is not a bad thing. We have a very diverse organization. We have diversity and where they're from, where they've grown up, things like that. We've had IEP problems, not problems IEPs, but people have to have IEPs. So we have a lot of work there, but I keep responding to the fact Waukesha is recognized statewide for having an extremely good program to help these people. Thank you.
Sarah Harrison.
Thank you. I think it's wonderful to see that we have the social emotional learning programs out there that are focused on things, building those skills such as self-awareness, relationship building skills, and responsible decision making. And this all is supported by things such as inclusive practices, And inclusive practices will help to show students from underrepresented groups that they are part of the community, that they belong in the classroom, and that they can be successful. Things that we need to continue to do are to use inclusive language. We should use classroom materials that reflect a diverse world, and setting clear expectations for respecting diverse viewpoints. That brings me to where the board can help in respecting diverse viewpoints. I have stated publicly my support for returning the welcoming signage, including safe space signs, to the classrooms. It is proven that LGBTQ plus students are 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. And the signage removal, has only made the harassment and bullying of these students worse in our schools. So as a board, we can return those welcoming messages to our walls and let those students know that they belong and that they can succeed. Thank you.
Not exactly throwing softballs at all of you. So next question, what would you want to see going forward for Waukesha schools when it comes to dealing with issues related to race and teaching about race-related matters? And we'll begin with Jaymz Touchstone this time.
Well,
wait, it says Bill Baumgart there, but I've got Jaymz Touchstone.
All right, so do you want Bill then?
Well, yeah, I guess so, since that's the, the name on the screen. Okay, Bill Baumgart.
let me read it to myself again real quick.
Everyone gets the same amount of time anyway, so.
Yeah, okay. We've got to, this is something, we've really got to do a better job of working with race and other race-related matters. We have a population which is different. I mean, it's mixed. I don't mean it's different any other way, but it is mixed. It's not single like all white people. Why isn't that a good thing? I think it's a great thing. I grew up in a situation where I went to all my schools with white people in a certain religion and a good education. But I have learned so much more about working with people of race, of disadvantages, whether they're financial disadvantages or mental disadvantages. That's really a wonderful opportunity to work with these people. And I think we're going to have to do more of it. That's more important to me than any other part of the education, because we've got kids that need our help. And isn't that what we're responsible for, to get them educated and to give them a safe environment? So quite simply, I stand high for this. I don't know that I've got the same issue with the signs, and that's not a mention of anything, Sarah. But we need to deal with the races and the people that have race-related issues. We need to understand them. We need to understand their backgrounds, understand things. I have a family. One of my groups of grandkids have a Japanese mother, and I've had to learn things about working with the Japanese, just like their wonderful mother has had to learn how to work with people that come to the United States. It's a wonderful experience to grow up that way. And when I look at my little kids in that family, they're so ahead of what I had to grow up with to try and understand the world. Thank you.
Greg Deets. And you need to unmute.
First of all, I just want to say that the school district of Waukesha is not teaching critical race theory. Let me just repeat that. The school district of Waukesha is not teaching critical race theory. And that's just extremely important for people to know, despite what you've heard. We also need to bring back the hard work that so many of our staff and administrators have done in the areas of diversity over the last few years. Actually, we were a leader in the area in terms of talking about diversity and moving forward in those areas, and reaching out to families and parents. And then all of a sudden over the summer, all that hard work and extra effort and commitment by staff came to a sudden halt. And we even have a person employed by the district whose role is to be moving diversity forward and dealing with diversity issues. Another thing we need to do with all the negative publicity that we've had in the area of diversity, we are not going to be able to attract staff of color. And so many of our diverse populations need those role models and those examples in the classroom to better connect and relate to. And what we're doing is by ignoring and pushing back on diversity and the efforts that we've done in the past and moving forward, we are actually keeping those staff people that could make a difference from coming to or even wanting to come to this district. So we need to go back to some things that we've been doing. Thank you.
Sarah Harrison.
Thank you. So there is a beautiful, rich, diverse community out here in Waukesha, and I love seeing all of the different people represented in our community. I think it only makes us stronger when we can come together and learn from each other. 24% of our students in Waukesha are Hispanic or Latino, and 5% are Black or African American. And there is a really great research-based approach to learning that helps connect students' cultures, languages, life experiences with their classroom content. The connections help students across various subjects, access the curriculum in a way that helps them to relate it to their everyday life and develop long-term high-level academic skills. I'm going to tell you the name of it, and I'm going to tell you why I told you what exactly it is first, because unfortunately there's a lot of confusion about this. This is actually culturally responsive teaching, and unfortunately it has the same letters as critical race theory. Critical race theory is absolutely not in our schools, nor should it be. Culturally responsive teaching, where we help kids understand things through the lens of their self-experience and through showing these children empathy, showing them caring, helping them show their helping them to reflect their experiences through the classroom. That is what we need to do. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, thank you. The question here is referring to race and race-related matters. The definition of race is inherited physical differences. My race is white, but my ethnicity is Mexican. I was born on a US Navy base, but yet I'm still considered an other. I'm still considered outside. When people see me and they meet me, they ask, your English is very great, very good. Not tonight, it isn't, but it's very good. Where did you learn it? How long have you had your green card? Where are you from? These are all questions that are asked of me, I've asked of my family. What I want to see for Waukesha and our students going forward is one, for our students to understand and to know how to use these terms correctly. When I see this question, I'm wondering if what was originally wanted to be asked is issues related to diversity or culture, because diversity isn't just the skin. It's either things that you're born into or even groups that you choose to be a part of. So I think what I would want to see for our district going forward is a clear understanding of those the definition of those terms. And we can do that with programs and practices such as inclusive practices in our classrooms that we integrate in the learning experience.
Jaymz Touchstone.
Hi, hey, in the book, Improving Quality in American Higher Education, it talks about teaching tough subjects like race-related matter. Students succeed when they can master the habits of historians. I was a history minor in college, and this is so true. And that includes an ability to see different perspectives, to understand deeply the people and events that they are studying in history, and to wrestle with the limits of knowledge. We need to press harder for students and teachers and administrators to become good at evaluating evidence, interpreting the historical record, figuring out what's significant, and making sense of complex issues. It's important that we remember that while we're teaching this, we need to focus on academic excellence, because that's the point of teaching history or anything else in our schools, is academic excellence. And as an employment specialist, I work with employers all the time, and they are focusing more and more on how people think rather than what they know. So I believe that it's critically important that we follow the historic teaching method of wrestling with complex issues to figure out what's significant and making sense of them.
Thanks to all of you. What role do you think parents, both as a whole and individually, should play in determining school policies, especially for controversial issues such as what books are available in libraries and gender-related issues? I believe this time we're starting with Sarah Harrison.
It's an interesting question. So I think that parents individually should be absolutely involved with their kids and speaking through things such as gender matters. I'm not sure why there would need to be a school policy regarding gender, and I'm not sure why we would need parents to be part of forming such a policy. So I guess I'm a little lost on that part of the question. I think I will move on to the other part of the question because I'm not quite certain what was meant by that. So in terms of determining school policies, absolutely parents should be involved as one of the key stakeholders. Stakeholders that should be involved in forming school policies include the board, administration, teachers. Students may even have some feedback, especially students who are in the high school age. And of course, you know, parents are part of that group. I don't think it should be dictated by parents when we come to things such as determining curriculum. I think that we should leave that to the experts. I appreciate that James earlier was talking about, you know, leaning in and letting experts do what they need to do. Our teachers are experts in curriculum design. There are very rigorous, specific things that need to be included. And I know that I, for one, do not have the familiarity with that sort of thing to be able to set a policy without having a large percent of information from the teachers and from the staff. Thank you.
Bill Baumgart.
Thank you. Yes, this is an interesting one, and I'm going to probably just follow in Sarah's road there. Yeah, we need to hear from parents. That's okay. I don't necessarily agree with parents when they decide to form teams and groups and come after us. But as a whole, we have policies we have to deal with. Knowing that parents have concerns over policies or the kids have concerns over policies is fine, but there are policies that we must write certain ways because they come to us from the state or they come from the federal government. And there are policies that we can work on by ourselves. And we have, as Sarah mentioned, we have professionals that deal with the things, the professionals that work in our student services area, professionals that work in our athletic areas. You know, a parent wants to deal with their kid. We have to deal with 11,000 plus kids. So it's a little bit more different than you think. Hearing from the kids, hearing from the parents is perfectly acceptable. Understanding that we have things to accomplish has to also be understood. We can't just jump in and do everything they want. I know I'm going to get irritated by some people about that one, but that's life. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Thank you. Yes. As individuals and as a whole, parents are always welcome to give input because there are subject matter experts out there. I think that It's more so the way that parents give the input. So if we continue off of James' thought process of a company, would a company allow the aggressive or a type of feedback um, to the policymakers? The divisiveness amongst the employees, that wouldn't stand. The employees wouldn't stick around. So parents do always have the say, but I think it's be their approach. There's various parent groups, advisory committees at different levels, at the principal level, at the superintendent's level, that they can be a part of. When it comes to the controversial issues, what's great about one of the policies that we have, the parents have the ability and the freedom to pull their child out of that particular subject matter at the time. So that would be my thought. The parents are welcome.
Jaymz Touchstone.
All right. So I really want to empower parents, especially to partner with me in educational freedom, because parents are really in control of their children, and as a whole we can do things. So yes, I am grateful to the current school board that when certain topics come up that I may want to talk with my children with beforehand, that is really good. I believe that parents are the people that need to work with gender identity and expose their children to that as they see fit, because it varies from parent to parent. I think that exposing children to early to gender identities, different things like that, is part of the problem that the parents are pushing back against. So yes, for what books are available in libraries is definitely something that the parent should be able to control. Now, can you have the books in the libraries? Maybe, but some books I think need a parental notification when they're going to be checked out or looked at, especially in the younger grades, right? As a parent, we are charged to bring up our children in the way that we see best. And so the school board always has to take care when developing policy around that. We have to make sure that we understand that the parents are in control of raising their children in the way that they see best. Thanks.
Greg Deets.
First of all, I believe that parents are a child's first and most important teacher. And they know their children better than obviously anyone. And it's very, very important that they establish that relationship with educators each and every year and keep them informed of what's going on, so that areas can be addressed that need to be, and the approach can be proactive. I do believe that parents should have a role in determining school policies. They obviously have access to us to provide input through emails, meetings. The superintendent's advisory group has parent representatives from each school. But ultimately, it's the school board's job to determine those policies. But thanks to the input that usually helps us, make those policies as sound as possible. And we do need that perspective, because if we're not connected anymore with the schools as board members and don't have a parent perspective, that would be lost if we didn't have that. Controversial issues, we have dealt with those this year. I actually agree with some of the parents that brought forward some of the books that needed to be taken out of our schools. After reading those, I was not aware that they're there. I'm glad they're no longer there. And to just follow that up with, we do have parental notification now in place for any books that are questionable. And we also have committees to review books as well. Thank you.
We'll turn to the eighth and final question from me. Education has become highly partisan in many places. What's your thoughts on the involvement in Waukesha education issues of partisan groups, Democratic groups, Republican groups, groups allied with either party. We're going to start this time with Amanda Roddy.
How did I know you were going to pick me first on this one? No, thank you for the question. My thoughts on the involvement of partisan groups. Well, we actually were just asked this question by another party. My thought is different groups, government, charities, political parties, they're always advocating and trying to influence, I guess would be the word, to us on whatever causes that they're advocating for. So the involvement, it doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily see it as a bad. I don't see it as a bad thing, as an issue. What I do have a concern with though is the way that some of these groups approach us. It's harsh. There's harsh language. It's uncivil. That's where I have a concern with the involvement. All of us associate with these different groups, whether they be political or outside groups. So I don't necessarily see an issue with them being part. It's just how they approach and their level of respect for the leaders in the district. It's always either you're with us or you're against us. And I don't, that's where I have an issue.
Jaymz Touchstone.
Yeah, hello. I think that all groups should be listened to along with whatever ideas that they're saying. The fact that I was willing to come to this group tonight, I think shows a large part of that. In my opening statements, I talked about how people can have the discussion of ideas and we can disagree on the ideas, but at the end of the day, I think that we need to come together and be able to role model for other citizens that have gotten too bad, for parents that can't speak professionally at the board members, between teachers, between students, between different political groups. We need to come together and show that we can engage in dialogue, because only by equal dialogue between all parties involved will we be able to advance our goal. And our goal on the school board is the education of the children. We have to be at the academic education. We always got to come back to that being in the forefront of what we need to focus on. We can always get distracted by partisan ideas. We can be distracted by this person belongs to this party, this person goes to this church, whatever. The distractions just need to stop, and we need to focus on getting the kids above proficient. They've been below proficient for over 5 years with the current school board. And so that is what needs to change, not where the good ideas come from. We need to stop judging people on where they are or where they live if they have a good idea.
Bill Baumgart.
Yes, this is a current issue. There's no question about it. We have moved into an environment here in Waukesha that has become quite separated, partisan-wise. And I can almost understand that to a point, but what in the world do the Democrats, what the world do the Republicans have to do with a kid, in an elementary school trying to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, so to speak? So that's why this is listed as a non-partisan situation when you are electing school boards, but it has become a factor. And I would agree here that the biggest problem we have had recently with this is the attitudes, the civility, the lack of civility that is occurring in the Waukesha community is serious. It's affecting our teachers, it's affecting our kids. I mean, we've seen bullying increase in significant numbers over the last couple of years. And some of the bullying has become quite nasty. Yes, it did occur with kindergarten kids when we were doing the mask episodes. Where did they get their bullying from? I guess I have a pretty good idea where they're getting it from, but it's a shame. We are trying to deal with children. We are trying to get them to get to the point about cultural responsibility. Yeah, those are things we need to do. We don't need to be fighting with people. We don't need the kids to see their parents fighting with people. We don't need the kids to be fighting with each other. It's all a waste of time, and the amount of money and stuff that is wasted, the days, the hours in the teaching part of the hours that's used up to try and solve these problems. This is an area that has to be corrected. Thank you.
Greg Deets.
The role of a school board member is to be nonpartisan. Let me repeat that. The role of a school board member is to be nonpartisan. Synonyms for nonpartisan: independent, neutral, non-aligned, objective, detached, and not in debt to. We currently have the Waukesha County Republican Party publicly funding and endorsing 3 of our opponents that aren't here tonight. And if you'd like to check that out, you could visit the Waukesha County Republican Party website. School boards need to come from, members need to come from various backgrounds and discussion, and represent all of our residents. If not, the agendas will not have discussion information items. They're just going to be action items. That's why this election is so crucial. One of the political issues that we dealt with this year was the seamless summer option lunch and breakfast program. And we voted to not have it. And then we voted right in August to have it again. And we still do not have, after the board passed seamless summer option 5 to 4, we still do not have breakfast in 8 of our elementary schools, which should be being offered. And it hasn't been for the last year and a half. And those 8 schools include Meadowbrook, Summit View, Bethesda, Rose Glen, Prairie, Hillcrest, Randall STEM, and Randall Saratoga. I've been battling administration on that, and will continue to do so. And I look forward to our next discussion, my next discussion with administration at the Finance and Facilities meeting coming up in February. Thank you.
Sarah Harrison.
Thank you. First and foremost, I do have political views, as I think everyone does, and I would never try to hide that or try to keep that from anyone. I'm pretty sure y'all can use Google and you can probably figure it out pretty quickly anyway. That said, my priority here and as a school board member is the well-being of the children and the education of our children, and that is a goal that supersedes politics. When I go to work every day, I don't take my politics to work, and I will not take my politics to the discussion table as a school board member. What I will take into account is that we are in a nonpartisan group. This is a nonpartisan office within that group. And the issues facing our students and our teachers are not partisan issues. These are very important life and education issues that we're dealing with. No matter how much anyone else wants to make this into a partisan race about partisan issues, it is a nonpartisan role. I am also running a nonpartisan campaign. I have not accepted any sort of endorsement or financial support from any political party. I'm running on my merits and on my viewpoints, and I am not using any sort of fundraising from any political party, and that is very much by design, because I think you have to respect the nonpartisan nature of this role. And as part of that, I pledge that I will always work with folks, whether they have the same viewpoint or not, and that I will absolutely work with everyone to find a transparent, merit-based decision that we can put out for all of our stakeholders. Thank you.
And thanks to all 5 of you. We've covered a lot of ground here. We've covered a lot of important subjects. There's certainly more we could talk about. We're going to stop here as far as the questions and turn to closing statements from each of you, 90 seconds each. We did the opening statements in alphabetical order. We'll do the closing statements in alphabetical order, starting from the end of the alphabet this time, which would be Jaymz Touchstone.
Great. Thanks for hosting this tonight, and thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it and appreciate hearing all the different sides from everybody. And I was glad that we could have a civil discussion. But if there's one takeaway from tonight's forum, it's that we need to ask the tough questions. Why did the school board and the current incumbents allow the current situation to get to this point? Why has the current school board hamstrung our students by not holding teachers and administrators accountable for this situation? Why has the current board inflicted emotional damage on our children by allowing 60% of them to form below proficient year after year? Our current board is either unwilling or unable to fix our current situation. Otherwise, they would have done it. What choice will you make when you leave here today? Will you join me in crusading for change by demanding educational freedom and accountability from our school board? Or will you go about your normal routine, sitting passively by, allowing generations of children to grow up undereducated? You, the voter, can change Waukesha School District by voting for change, but just sit by and ignore what you already know that the Waukesha school districts are woefully below proficient in English and math. You know what you need to do. You need to vote for change. Vote for Jaymz. That's Jaymz with a Z. Thank you.
Amanda Roddy.
Yes, thank you. And again, thank you for the opportunity for everybody who's took the time to put this together. My personal education background has had me in public school, private school, state school, homeschool. Interestingly enough, Jaymz, I also come from a family of 6 children. And all of those experiences and those learning experiences, I've seen the highs and the lows of each of those educational settings. I saw my parents turn on a dime when something in life popped up or we had to change for something. As a parent in the district, especially these last couple of years, I've experienced those situations where you're panicked because you didn't know where you're going to, how are you going to get kids from here or there, or how are we going to study for this test when, you know, the teacher's not available at that moment. I've experienced all of these things just as the families in our district have, and I can relate deeply to them. I see, I'll use these experiences to continue to lead with empathy. I'm a parent, I'm a community member, I'm a taxpayer, I have a lot of skin in the game, and I humbly ask for your support again. I ask for grace and compassion and understanding as I continue out the duration of my term. My decisions aren't made out of animosity, but out of concern for the student as a whole. And we are a work in progress. So thank you.
Sarah Harrison.
Thank you. And thank you for having me tonight. Also, thank you to all who are listening. Listening is so important. And as I've been out in the community speaking and listening with all of our Waukesha neighbors over the past several weeks, there's a common theme that comes up, and people are really concerned about the increasingly divisive rhetoric, the scare tactics, and the political fear-mongering that's going on out in our community. Our goal here is to help the children succeed. Our goal is to help all of the kids to get a great education and to be prepared for life out beyond their formal education. The kids are always learning, and we as adults should take a note from them and continue to learn as well. And I promise that I will make my decisions based on the best information that I have at the moment that a vote is required. And I also promise that as additional information comes to light, I will take it under advisement. And if something needs to change, it's more important for us to include all of the information and make solid decisions than for me to insist I was right about something. So I promise to be flexible and to be able to learn, and humble enough to admit when I have learned that a former decision may not have been the best. I believe in our kids, I believe in our teachers, And I'm asking for your vote on February 14th. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can find my information on tinyurl.com/Sarah for Waukesha, which is all one word, or on Facebook, where my page name is Sarah Harrison for Waukesha, also all one word. Thank you very much.
Greg Deets.
Thank you to all of you that, again, organized tonight's event, and also thank you to all of you that stayed with us throughout this community forum. I've had the privilege of serving the school district of Waukesha, like I said, as a principal for 21 years and a board member for 6. And I pride myself in being part of this district and trying to improve it. I come to my monthly board meetings prepared. I want to collaborate, and I am committed to excellence. As a board member, I understand that this is a non-political, nonpartisan position. And once again, I want to say that I don't believe that all candidates do understand the difference. I look forward to the next 3 years of representing you as we work together to address our challenges and to produce measurable results. This is a very high stakes election, of which the results will undoubtedly impact the school district of Waukesha for many years to come. Very high stakes election. So you really need to look into the candidates and what they stand for, and make that decision when you go to the ballot box. That is exactly why it is so important for you to actively join my campaign and vote for me on Tuesday, February 15th, and also Tuesday, April 5th. And please encourage others to do the same. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Bill Baumgart.
Well, thank you. First and last, I also would like to thank you guys that put this program together. That's helpful and it's important. I'd like to thank the attendees and those that have listened. Just having this opportunity to share, to learn from each other and about each other is valuable. It's important that we've been able to do that. It's disappointing we didn't have the remainder of the group with us, seeing the importance of doing this. As to me, yes, I'm running. Obviously, you've heard all of us talk about that. Why is this guy running? Because I have really a fond feeling for the school district of Waukesha. I don't feel it's all falling apart like everybody thinks. I think we really have a lot of good stuff out there that people don't recognize. Examples, our AVID program, one of the leading ones in the country, and very high grades for that. The Health Academy, the Engineering Academy, our work we do over at East High School with kids that need some special help, our STEM Academy, our dual language program, which was at the time was one of the first in the nation. And it's so popular that we can't keep up with it. Our environmental education program that many people don't even know exists, but the kids are there learning stuff that is so important. eAchieve allowed us to do use our technology for being able to do virtual. There's still a lot of people using eAchieve because they want that, and it's working so well. Our MAID program, which you won't find in other states, manufacturing and automobile design and engineering. We have so many good things in Waukesha. I want to maintain those things. I love being here. Being on the board is not the easiest thing in the world, but you really feel good about it when you see what's going on out there. And one of the things I said earlier, I spend a lot of time going into the schools, seeing what really is going on. That's important. I also hope that you think about me when it comes time for the elections coming up. I want to thank all of you for being here and listening to this important meeting. Thank you.
Well, this concludes our conversations, our forum for this evening. We wish to thank again the 5 candidates that agreed to put themselves in the spotlight tonight: Bill Baumgart, Greg Deets, Sarah Harrison, Amanda Roddy, and Jaymz Touchstone. And thank you again to our moderator, Alan Borsick, and to all those who submitted questions through our Facebook page. On February 15th, there will be a primary featuring all 8 school board candidates. You will be asked to select 3 candidates you want to advance to the April 5th election. As a reminder, there is still time to register to receive your absentee ballot. To do so, you can go to myvote.wi.gov. Also, you can vote early in person at your local municipality during normal business hours beginning on February 1st, running through February 11th. Thank you again to our candidates, our moderator, and to you, our audience, the voters, for attending tonight's forum. Thank you and good evening.